What is happening, you wonderful people? So, this week I have been very busy with South by Southwest. And if you don't know what South by Southwest is, it is a huge film festival and movie world premiere that happens every year in March in downtown Austin, Texas, which, if y'all don't know, I live close to Austin, Texas. I live about an hour outside of it. And I wanted to go last year, didn't get a chance to. Also, I didn't even think I'd be able to go this year, but God is good, God is great, and I was able to go. And there's a few films I didn't see, like Death of a Unicorn. I didn't see Death of a Unicorn. The Dutchman I didn't see. Friendship I didn't see. And I didn't see Summer of '69. But I saw 11 projects as a whole, 10 movies, one TV show, the first two episodes of a TV show. So let's rank them from worst to best. Let's talk about it. So yeah, with South by Southwest, it was a lot of fun. Overwhelming at times. I'm not going to lie. Overwhelming at times. I will say that. And there is no downtime, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just there is no downtime. You know what I mean? And I got to meet a lot of cool people. I got to see Sean Chandler. He was there. I got to finally meet Cody Leach. That was cool. I got to meet Cinema Joe, which was really cool. And I got to meet my first celebrity, Kevin Durand. You know, he's been in Abigail, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Walking Tall, X-Men Origins Wolverine. So that was really cool. And I saw some really great movies. I did. Some movies I didn't like that much, though. And number 11 is Odessa. Now, I have to say, my favorite part about going to see Odessa was Sadie Sink, who plays Max in Stranger Things. She's the main lead in this film. Walked right by my seat. That was crazy. That was surreal. And Rebecca Hall plays the main villain in this film, or one of the main villains, and she walked right by my seat as well. I think she did. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was cool. But the movie itself, right? It's not very good. It's not very good. And I didn't have any expectations for this film at all. If this is going straight to Hulu, this is a Disney adjacent film property by Searchlight Pictures, and if this wasn't at South by Southwest, I would have no desire to watch this film. I have Hulu. I do have Hulu, but if this was not at South by Southwest, I would not watch this film. I wouldn't have watched it, you know. And it's not the worst film I've seen ever, but it's not good. It's not good. It's definitely down there. It's not good. Now, for a non-theatrical, for a streaming film, I think it is good in that its own merit, if that makes sense. Like, in terms of that, it looks good. It's a good looking film. I think visually it's cool looking. I think that it is directed very well. And for the most part, the music that they have in this film is actually solid. I like the music. It's not great. It's not the greatest music we've heard, but it's good. I like the music. I did like the music. The acting's fine. I thought the acting was fine. Sadie Sink acted her heart out in this film. I love Sadie Sink, and especially in Stranger Things, but I think she's better in Stranger Things than this, I think. But she was really good in here. She acted her heart out. She knew what she was doing. You could tell she wanted to. She gave it her all. You could tell she did her best. You know what I mean, with what she was given. And I thought she was really good in this. I thought she was. And the thing with this film is that it has its own unique look to it. It has its own unique style, like its own flair. It has its own artistic flair, you know, and I thought that was cool. I thought that was a good part of the film, you know. But the problem with this film is that it overstays its welcome. The characters are not likable or memorable in the slightest. They're not. And it's the oddball of South by Southwest. It is the oddball of the festival, and it isn't very memorable. It's not very memorable, and it has a very weird and strange, very bizarre vibe to it. Like, bizarre and bizarro can mean the same thing. They are the same thing, kind of. But it feels very odd. It's a very odd feeling film. Like, I didn't like the vibe. I didn't like the feel of the film. The story feels very disjointed, and it feels very unfocused for the most part. And the problem with this film is that this film wants to be so many things, you know, and the film's a romance film, you know, but it wants to be all of these things in one. It's a romance film. it's an apocalyptic film, it's a musical, and it tries to blend all three of those aspects together of the film, but it just does not work. It just ends up falling flat. And the romance side of it doesn't feel earned. Nothing in this film feels earned. It just feels like it's just like thrown at you, and it feels like it's just going along for the ride, I guess. It just nothing feels earned at all. It just feels like it's just given to the characters and given to the story, and it doesn't work. The movie doesn't work. And number 10 is another straight to streaming film. It's going to Prime Video, starring Nicole Kidman, Gael Garcia Bernal, and Matthew McFadden, Holland. And I had no expectations for this film. And I think the cast is great. I like the cast in this film. This is another film, though, that if it was not shown at South by Southwest, if it was not shown there, I would not be watching it at home. I won't be watching it again. I won't. Because I have a hard time like trying to explain what this movie's about. It's a very hard movie to explain. I think the performances are great. Nicole Kidman's great. Gael Garcia Bernal is great. Matthew McFadden is great. Everyone in here is great. The acting is great. And I think it's directed well. It is directed well. And the score, I like the score. I will say, I do like the score for this film. I do. It has a very eerie tone to it. It has a very eerie sound to it. You know what I mean? And it has its own unique style look to it as well. It does. And I thought that was cool. But the problem with this film is that the writing is just meh. It's just meh. Not that great. It's not. And it overstates its welcome as well. And it's just, the problem with this film is if something felt off. And I still cannot figure out what it was. I cannot figure out what it was. It's just very super bizarre. It's a very bizarre film, and I couldn't connect with the characters and the story. None of that is memorable. The story was confusing. It felt like it didn't kick in to gear until the third act. Like I'm sitting there, and the movie starts, and through the first act, through the second act, until we get to the third act. Forget the third act for a second. Just talking right now about the first and the second act. There's no story. The story is not cohesive at all. It does not know what it wants to do. It does not know what it wants to be. It's all over the place, and it just, I could not figure out what this movie wanted to be. I couldn't figure out if it wanted to be a romance film. I couldn't figure out if it wanted to be a suspenseful film. I couldn't figure out if it wanted to be a horror film. I couldn't figure out if it wanted to be all three of those mixed together. And it just falls flat. It just doesn't know what it wants to do. Doesn't know what it wants to be. And when it gets to the third act, and it has that twist, you get a twist in the third act, you're like, okay, I get it now, but did we have to wait that long? Because before you gave us this twist, which the twist actually works, I like the twist, there's no build-up. There's no build-up at all, and you're just sitting there bored out of your mind, and you're just ready for this film to end. The payoff is terrible, and it just doesn't, on a story level, on a narrative level, with its tone, tonally, it just doesn't work. It just falls flat, and Holland just didn't work for me. And number 9, a film I actually saw last night, the closing film of South by Southwest, is a film that, if it didn't show at South by Southwest, I would have not gone to go see it. On Swift Horses. Now, this film is probably going to be, it's an offensive film. It's definitely an offensive film. And it's a very hard film to understand in a way, a hard film to talk about. And I have to say, so basically what it's about, if y'all saw Challengers, right? Different story, of course. But compare this to Challengers. How Challengers was a love triangle, right? Love triangle. This is literally a love square. It is a love square. This movie is erotic. It is rough. It is in your face. It is just, it's maybe on the nose, I guess. It's better than I thought it would be. Way better than I thought it would be. I was surprised at how much I liked. Didn't love it, though. Didn't love it. But it's beautifully shot. Cinematography is great, I thought. Acting is phenomenal in this film. I like the music, too. I like the music in the film. It doesn't overstay its welcome, you know. It is better than I was expecting. And the acting. I really enjoyed the acting. I did, but my issue with this film is that I just didn't find myself interested in what the story had to offer. I didn't find myself interested in the characters, what was going on, what their motivations were. I didn't find myself interested in anything surrounding the narrative and surrounding the characterization. I didn't find myself interested or intrigued, and it drags at times, and the story felt very confusing and convoluted at times, and I couldn't figure out really what was going on. Like it felt like there was subplot over here, subplot over. Well, I don't know if I say subplot, but something. Well, that's the right wording or usage to use. Something going on over here, something going on over here, and it just felt messy at times. It just felt messy, so I just couldn't connect with it. And number 8, the first film of South by Southwest was Another Simple Favor. Now, I never saw the first one, A Simple Favor. I never did. But I feel like I would have liked this one more if I saw the first one first. Did not hate this film, but at the same time, it's not great. And I think it plays great with the crowd. I think it does. The humor hits at times. Not all the humor works in this film. Not all of it works. But for the most part, it works. Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively's chemistry is great, I think. And I think it's fun at times. It's a smaller scale, straight to streaming film, low budget, cheesy at times. You know what you're gonna get, and it feels, in my opinion, very bland. It felt very bland, and the story overall wasn't great, in my opinion. And having not seen the first one, this one fell kind of flat for me. It did. And some of the humor didn't land, and it is very paint by numbers, run of the mill. You know what's going to happen. You've seen this movie a million times before, and the twists just aren't memorable. We get these twists, and we basically, I never saw the first one. I never did. And, having not seen the first one, I feel like I should have watched it before this one. But basically, Anna Kendrick is this author, and she's at this book signing thing, and Blake Lively comes back into her life, and they go to this wedding in Venice or Italy or something, and it's a mess. It's a mess, and I just didn't find myself rooting for the characters. I didn't find myself interested in the story, and it just was okay. Wasn't great. And number 7 is a film called Ash. This film stars Aaron Paul and Isaac Gonzalez, and it's directed by Flying Lotus. And with the concept that this film has, it can feel a little generic, right? But it should be an easy win. And I didn't hate this film at all, but I didn't love it. And the basic premise of this film is that Isaac Gonzalez is this astronaut, right? And she ends up on this distant planet, and there's twists involved and all that. But her whole crew is dead. So this whole film, she tries to figure out what happened, and we find out later what happens, and it's okay. It's fine for what it is. The visual aesthetic is great. I loved the visual aesthetic in this film. The directing style too was super unique, and I love the score. It was also super unique, and the sound design was unique as well. And I loved all of that, and I love the atmosphere in this film too. I do, and Aaron Paul and Isaac Gonzalez are great. They're phenomenal in here. But my problem with this film, it doesn't take its time. It does not take its time. There's not enough time to understand the narrative and to understand the characters, and the mystery aspect doesn't work as well as it should, in my opinion. And the build up to the twist, in my opinion, it didn't feel earned. It didn't feel earned, and the payoff in the end felt kind of lousy and dull. Like I see the potential for this film. I do. I see the potential, but I just don't feel like the payoff is good. Nothing feels earned. And with Isaac Gonzalez and Aaron Paul, who are phenomenal actors, in my opinion, with the aesthetic and with this story maybe feeling a little generic and run of the mill, paint by numbers, predictable, this should still be an easy win. Like, it looked cool from the trailers. I wasn't like hyped for it or anything, but I was hoping I'd find a diamond in the rough for this one. I was hoping I'd actually really enjoy it, and I just didn't find myself rooting for the story. I didn't find myself rooting for the characters, and it just didn't end up working for me. And number six, a film I had no expectations for, but then they released the trailer, and I was super pumped for this film. It was my most anticipated movie of the festival, and it ended up being my most disappointing. Drop. I really, really wanted to like Drop. I did. With the dope premise like Drop, this should be an easy win. It should be. Because the premise is this single mom goes on a date with this guy, right? She goes on a date with this guy, and she leaves her son. She leaves her son at home with her sister, right? And while she's on this date, she starts getting airdrops from this random stranger, right? And he's like, if you don't kill your date or do what I tell you, I'm going to kill your son. And I'm like, this premise should be on paper. This should work. On paper, it may sound a little generic, maybe a little predictable, but it should be awesome. And there's some good things about it, but overall, it just doesn't work for me. Like, I think I can see the potential in the film. I can. Great score. It's directed well, I thought. Megan Fahey and Brandon Skelnar, however you say his name. And they're great. I like their chemistry. I thought they were fun on screen. They were fun on screen together, you know. But a problem with this film is it just falls flat on every single level. Plot feels dull. The plot feels dull and bland. Felt very dull and bland. The major twist reveal is very lame, in my opinion. I saw it coming from a mile away. I was like, I think I know who it is. Ended up being who I thought it was, and I was just like, I shouldn't have seen that coming. I shouldn't have seen it coming, and I saw it coming, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. And I didn't feel a sense of stakes. I didn't feel a sense of tension. Like, with this film, with the premise of this film, you should feel the sense of stakes and the sense of tension. And I just didn't feel any of that. And I'm just sitting there, not so much, not necessarily bored out of my mind. Wasn't really bored. But I just wanted to feel something. I wanted to feel the stakes. I wanted to feel the tension for this film, for the premise that we're given. And it just didn't work. It just ended up falling flat. And number five, a film that I thought was going to be absolute garbage, but I actually had an absolute blast. Clown in a Cornfield. And before this film, I actually met my first celebrity. I didn't get a picture. Sadly, I didn't. But that was really cool. I met Kevin Durand. You know, he played in X-Men Origins Wolverine, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I shook his hand. I was like, you're the first celebrity I ever met, so this is crazy. He's like, oh, I hope I don't mess it up. I'm like, no, dude, you're good. I shook his hand after the film, too. I did. He was in a rush, though, so he had to go, which is fine. But that was cool. And I feel like that kind of elevated my enjoyment of this film, you know. But I feel like if I didn't get to meet him, I would still enjoy this film. Because Clown at a Cornfield is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun, and it's a very campy. It's very campy. It's very cheesy. It is predictable, and the acting's bad at times, and the dialogue is bad at times. It is, and it overstays its welcome. It does, but the movie's self-aware. It's fun with the crowd. It is a fun film. I'm telling you, the humor's actually great, and the thing with this film is it's just schlock fun. It's not a great film. It's not necessarily a good film, but it's fun, man. It's fun, and I'm going to give it a positive review, giving it a positive review in this ranking too. And it's self-aware, it's fun, plays good with the crowd, it's suspenseful. It is suspenseful at times, but it's just turn your brain off fun festival film that you can enjoy with people around you. You can enjoy with your friends and family and all that, and it's fun. It's fine. And now number four. This is not a film, but this is a TV series. The first two episodes of Seth Rogen's new Apple TV Plus series, The Studio. And basically in this series, it's basically a story about how crazy it is to make and how difficult it is to make a movie and a TV show in Hollywood. It stars Seth Rogen, Bryan Cranston's in it, Catherine O'Hara, Catherine Hahn, Greta Lee. Everybody's in this film. Martin Scorsese's in here. It is a lot of fun. If I had to choose which episode I like the best or more, I like episode 1 more than episode 2, but both are great. It's a blast. It is an absolute blast. You actually feel the panic and the stakes in here, and it plays great with the crowd. And it reminded me of Saturday Night, the film. It reminded me of that. And I love the writing. The acting is great. The writing is great. And it's very fast paced and chaotic, but in a good way, right? And it is hilarious. It is so funny. Some of the things that happen in these episodes, some of the things that go down. It's just, you feel the awkwardness, you feel the panic. It's really good. And if I had to talk about some of my negatives, some of my qualms with it, maybe it drags at times, maybe a little over the top at times, and not all of the humor lands, but other than that, look out for the studio. It's really fun. It releases on March 26th, the first two episodes, and then the other episodes later on, like weekly. It's really good. And number three, a film that there's no trailer out right now, but it releases in August. It stars Dave Franco and Allison Brie. It's a new horror film, a body horror film called Together. And this film, I had no expectations for, but I absolutely love it. It is disgusting, revolting, but it's gnarly. It is rad. It is so, I say gnarly and rad. Trust me, you're going to have a good time with it. It is great. And basically what it's about Allison Brie, Dave Franco in the film, in real life too. In real life, they're a couple, which I found out late. But the fact that I found that out late makes this film less uncomfortable. But they're a couple and they live in the city, right? But they move out to the countryside into this house, and there's this supernatural thing going on. And the supernatural thing starts literally pulling their bodies together, and hence the title, right? And it's nuts. It is a freaking nuts film, and I cannot believe they did what they did in this film. There are things that happen in this film that had my jaw on the floor. I could not believe that what they did in this film. I was so shocked. And, they take risks in this film, but those risks pay off. They do. And it plays great with the crowd. It does. And Franco and Brie are fantastic in this film. Their chemistry is great. It's hilarious at times. The shock value of it is insane, in my opinion. It is absolutely insane. And I love the atmosphere, and the twist that we were given work. They work. And maybe it's a little predictable at times. And it maybe drags a little bit. But overall, this is a disgusting film. It is so disgusting. But it is a freaking blast. And besides it being disgusting, besides it being that, it's a really well done film. It's a very small scale, low budget film. It's neon, right? Which I love neon. But it's a very, I don't know if I say close quarters pressure cooker film, but it kind of takes place in one location. And there's a thing where, I'm not going to say it because it'll give something away, but it's really good. Look out for Together in August. It's amazing. Go watch it. And number two, The Accountant 2. I absolutely love this film. I actually watched The First Accountant for the first time a couple months ago. And I like The First Accountant. I don't love it, but this one upped the ante. This one was way better by a mile, in my opinion. The action's great. It plays great with the crowd as well. And it's just fun overall. The film's fun overall. And I love the buddy cop aspect of the film. And Ben Affleck and John Berthol's chemistry is so good, man. Their chemistry in this film, their interactions between each other, their banter, what they say between, to each other, and just both of their acting chops together, perfect, man. It made the film fun. And the dialogue sharp, acting's good. And, I feel like the story wasn't super strong in the film. And you've seen the story before, and they lean a little too into the comedy in this one. And I feel like at times the comedy made the overall tone inconsistent at times. But besides those negatives, it's a great film. And I don't know if I'd say it'll be in my top 10 films of the year. I don't think it will be. But it's really good. It's a really good film. And it's mainly a blast. And with their chemistry, with it being a buddy cop film, with it playing great with the crowd and with the action, it's a blast. Look out for it in April. It's great. And number one, I gotta lock in when I talk about this film because I'm still on a high from this film. It is, as of right now for 2025, including this film and all the films I saw at the festival, I've seen 18 or 19 films. It is number one. It is number one. I saw 11 projects at South by Southwest. It's number one. The Rivals of AMZIAH King. This is Matthew McConaughey's new film, right? No release date yet. It is releasing this year. No trailer yet. But I'm telling y'all, when this film releases, you need to go watch it. It is one of the greatest films I've ever seen in my life. And it is such a feel-good film. What this film is about, and I'm going to try to explain it, and I'm going to try to make sense. It is literally a film about family, friendship, love, loss, in the way Matthew McConaughey described it, in the way Andrew Patterson, the director, described it. It's about having potlucks at your church in a gymnasium, about a Carney Creedence revival band playing live shows in Dairy Queen parking lots, about people with lip-haired, knee-scraping people who are outcasts, and Matthew McConaughey plays the perfect redneck in this film. He plays this redneck who lives in the backwoods of Oklahoma, who plays in this revival Creedence band. He's also a foster dad who his foster daughter comes back into the picture, and he's a beekeeper. He sells honey, and this movie is freaking incredible. I have never seen a film like this. I never have. I can't even put in to words. It's incredible. It's literally incredible. And it's a feel-good film. The music is absolutely freaking phenomenal. The acting's great. It's directed well. It has heart. It's easily Matthew McConaughey's best performance yet. The dialogue's great. And the thing with this film is the editing feels unique. And it feels like it has its own story of its own, right? And it's about love, friendship, family, loss. And it plays great with the crowd. And it's freaking hilarious. And it's just, it reminded me of Peanut Butter Falcon, right? Great film. Different story. It's a different story than that film. That one's great. This is better. This is a better version of Peanut Butter Falcon. And that is saying a lot because that film is phenomenal. I love that film. And at first I thought the editing was choppy, but then I thought it was choppy. But I found out why they did the editing, like why they edited the film like that. And I was like, oh, that's great. I love how they did that. And I do have to say, I feel like the second and third act aren't as strong as the first. They're not as strong, but that doesn't matter because this film is phenomenal and I want to go back and watch it again and again and again. And when it releases in theaters, I will be watching this film more and more. It's a beautiful tapestry of a film and it's the best movie of the year. And it's literally amazing. So yeah, overall, I had a really great time at South by Southwest. I really did. And I want to hear from y'all. If y'all are going to see these films when they fully release, which ones are y'all most excited about? Are y'all excited about Rivals of AMZIAH King, Together, The Studio, Drop? Let's talk about it down below. So that'll wrap up this video. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, share in this video. We are at 819 subs. Next big milestone is 900, reaching that quickly. And then the big one is 1K and beyond that as well. And if you're new as well, I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, trailer reactions, movie live streams, movie news, movie rankings, all that wonderful movie stuff under the movie umbrella. And again, comment down below. Let's talk about it. What movie are y'all most excited for? Drop, The Studio, Odessa, Together. Let's talk about it down below. Keep talking movies and wonderful people. Cheers.